Now, research indicates that violence can be perpetrated by individuals of any gender. Yes, you heard me, any gender, be it male or female. It's crucial to address the issue of violence comprehensively rather than attributing it solely to a specific gender, whether male or female. You're welcome to Insight Today. I am Jumai Manson. The program continues shortly. Stay tuned.
For an insightful idea that takes the center stage and the conversation that gets beyond the headlines, to explore the lasting impact of political decisions, Big Talk got you covered. From policy debates to geopolitical insights, from thought-provoking discussions to actionable insight.
What is the real responsibility of government?
Big Talk delves deep into the heart of the matter. Join us weekdays on Global Televisions from 6:30 p.m. for a reverting journey into the heart of politics, where we dissect issues shaping our society.
With every government and introduction of new policies, businesses of all kinds and sizes seize the opportunity to evolve and redefine themselves. Business Point on Global Television is where we follow the money and put the facts and figures right in front of you. Watch Business Point every Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. as Kikelamo Okeri tracks all the latest developments across critical sectors. Business Point, this is business.
In an ever-busy world, the increasing challenge of keeping track of health matters can be extremely demanding. Follow the latest health tips and trends on Health Guide on Global Television on Tuesday at 3 p.m. Health Guide on Global Television. Put your health first.
Are you a food lover? Do you care about your health and nutrition? Are you interested in exploring the diverse culinary traditions from around the world? Then look no further. Introducing Lunch Global on Global Television, a show that takes you on a delicious journey through the world of food, nutrition, and diet. So, whether you're a seasoned foodie, a health enthusiast, or simply curious about the world of food, Lunch Global has something for everyone. Tune in Mondays to Fridays and let your taste bud take you on a journey of flavor, culture, and discovery on Lunch Global. Bon appetit!
Time check. It's midday. Then it's Midday Discourse. Midday Discourse is a program that covers trending local and international news, current issues, and human-related topics. Join Samuel Odi weekdays 1 p.m. on Global Television. The discussion starts here.
It's time for sports' biggest moments on Global Television. The headlines, scores, breaking news, and commentaries on sporty events. Talking with the biggest players, strikers, and about the slam dunks and goals, stunning saves, near misses, and upsets. Let's talk about the greatest home runs, comebacks, knockdowns, and victories. Talk sports with the king of sports, Anthony Momodu. Weekdays, 10 a.m. Don't miss out.
Beautiful work from the wingers.
So welcome back, and if you're just tuning in, this is Inside Today on Global Television, and we're looking at a very sensitive matter which has to do with violence which is perpetrated by individuals of various gender, either male or female. Now, to address the issue of violence, we have to look into it in depth rather than attributing it solely to one specific gender. Some people will say the male gender is more violent compared to the female gender. Well, how true is that? We will be watching, and of course we will listen attentively. Now, on the program Inside Today, United Nations has highlighted the impact of violence when it comes to children. Now, emphasizing the need for protection and support, violence against children can have severe and lasting effect on their physical, emotional, and mental well-being. Now, some parents do not understand that their kind of emotions that they pass when being violent to their spouse can actually affect the physical, emotional, and mental well-being of their children because they watch. And most people who have been spoken to when it comes to violence, they will tell you that violence happens because of what they saw, what their mom or their dad did. Now, it can be hindered. It can also hinder the development, lead to trauma, and perpetrate cycles of violence. Of course, as they grow, the cycle continues. Now, the UN promotes initiatives to prevent and respond to violence against children, ensuring their safety and well-being. Now, the question on everyone's mind is, who is more violent? Who is more aggressive? Who has anger issues? Who is more prone to be the first to act negatively or spontaneously out of defense? Your guess is as good as mine. Is it the man or the woman? Some might have a different view, while some will boldly call out the gender they feel and also the gender that comes to mind. But really, it is apparent to know that research indicates that violence can be perpetrated by individuals of any gender at all. Yes, are you surprised that sometimes the female gender tends to be more violent? Or the male gender tends to become more violent? Well, it's crucial to address the issue of violence comprehensively rather than attributing it solely to a specific gender. Now, we will be hearing from individuals in our society who have spoken who is more violent when it comes to this issue called violence. Now, I'm not looking at gender-based violence, which is two separate and different things, but critically looking at who is more violent, who tends to react spontaneously when it comes to this sort of issue. Now, many people will say the men, many people will say the women, but looking at it solely, who do you think is more violent when it comes to issues like this? Who tends to act out of being spontaneous? Who tends to act when he is angered or where she is angered? Who cannot stand that word of being tolerant, patient, all encompassed in one? All right, let's look at some individuals who have shared their views, who will be talking about why violence is caused by mostly men or mostly women. Let's take a look.
To be a concern in our society. We are out here to get the reactions of people on what violence is and who is more violent, a man or a woman.
If you note on domestic violence, women are always more provocative. The man is a gentle lion, he's hidden somewhere. But when the woman provokes, it provokes the lion inside the man. And not every man has this patience to listen because of the situation, the pressure in the community today.
In society, in every sphere of society, the men are prone to react more violently. The women, occasionally, probably if they are insecure, if they feel threatened. But the average man can get violent more easily than the female.
Naturally. Because women, when they take their bath, they don't pour water on their heads. It affects them. Yes. So, to me, women are more violent. Because men are more tamed. I don't know, more. They can entertain things more. They can hide things more in their heart than a woman. Women can easily explode.
Because in a home that contains a man and a woman and children, though there must be, I can't call it violence. There must be agreements or disagreements. But in times of violence, it has extended to violence. It must start from disagreement or agreement. And it also depends on the two people that form a family. You know that they are coming from different backgrounds. There must be a kind of, let me say, temperament is a major thing.
Samuel Odi reporting for Global Television.
You're welcome back. And from that response of individuals who some spoke, you heard what most individuals said. It depends. People, a man and a woman from two different backgrounds. Of course, they must be temperaments. But some says women are. Most men that were interviewed on that special report by Odi said women. Some says it depends on the temperaments. Both men and women have temperaments. Now, let's look at it critically and wonder to ourselves who is more violent when it comes to the male folk or the women folk. People might just wonder and say to themselves, the male folk. But have you ever noticed, I'm a female, but let's just bring this out there. Of course, there was a report that said a woman actually stabbed her husband because he cheated. Most of these things, we just wonder, how many issues have we heard that men have been so prone to do worse things? Or do you think some just do it silently while the women folk just come all out to do it? Now, violence in homes and the environment is a significant concern that can have detrimental effect on individuals and communities. Now, domestic violence, which occurs within family or immediate relationships, can lead to physical, emotional, and psychological harm. Yes, most people out there might just say to themselves, Jumai Manson, I've seen the statistic that says it's only bodily harm. No, it causes what we call, there's some physical, emotional, and psychological harm it does to that person who is being abused. Now, for instance, the physical aspect, you just feel you are not enough. You just criticize everything that has to do with your physical well-being. Emotionally, that person might be traumatized, and of course, psychologically traumatized also. Psychologically, the way you think might just think outside the box, not knowing that is the abuse or violence that you are actually suffering from. Now, it's crucial to address domestic violence through support services and legal interventions to protect victims and prevent further harm. Now, for me, in order to retaliate, it's better you report this issue. Very important for men that actually abuse their wife, causing violence in the home, causing unsteadiness, causing psychological, emotional, and physical harm. It is better to address or go through the legal means, take it to court, and let them settle outside or outside of court. Now, when dealing with violence in home front, it is crucial to prioritize safety and seek support. It's very important that you have that good support system. In Nigeria, where we find ourselves, have you ever wondered when they say you cannot leave a home that you are being abused, like for the men, or the women especially, they tell you, of course, you have to stay there, because what will society say? Society might say a lot of things by stigmatization. She cannot stay in her home, but not knowing the kind of emotional, psychological, physical, mental abuse he or she is actually facing. Now, it's better you seek support from family and friends, individuals who will guide you, who will be with you in this very critical time. Now, here are some steps one can take to handle violence in the homes. Let's take a look. One says, ensure safety. If you know someone you know is experiencing violence, prioritize safety. It's very important you know that the individual is safe from harm. Now, getting the person outside that home, it doesn't matter how difficult it is, you must prioritize the individual's safety, whether it is a male and female. And some of you might say, Jumai Manson, how possible is it that a woman can actually be very violent towards a man? Think again, because most women actually have the louder voice when it comes to handling issues. Most women actually attack their husbands. Most women actually beat up their husband, versus the husband also. So the man needs to be placed in a very safe zone. So prioritizing the safety is very important. Now, develop a safety plan that includes identifying safe space and emergency contact. Now, of course, some of these violence take place mid-noon. It takes place, it doesn't matter the time, but it's very important that the individual is established with an emergency contact, which the person can actually call for when it's getting out of hand. Like I said, we have the physical, we have the mental, we have the psychological, and we have everything encompassed when it comes to one's mental health. Now, you have to seek support. Reach out to trusted friends, family members, or local support services for help. You can contact helplines or shelters for assistance and guidance. Now, it's very important we take this particular step really seriously. Now, for some people out there, you say to yourself, I do not have family or family members in which I can run to because of what they will think, the stigmatization attached to leaving the home front because of abuse or violence. Well, it's very important that family and friends come together to support the individual at this very crucial time of need. And don't forget, violence leads to death. So one has to be very, very supportive and sensitive towards this particular issue. Now, legal assistance. You have to consider seeking legal advice and protection orders if necessary. Legal intervention can help protect individuals from further harm. Now, most people out there, you just do not do it the illegal way. Do it the legal way by going to court for help. Very important to have a restraining order on the man or the woman who is causing and inflicting injury or inflicting harm or inflicting abuse on the other spouse. It's very important that legal help, they come in and of course intervene. Now, therapy and counseling. Now, here in this part of the world, we feel when you go for therapy or you go for counseling, it means that the person is going berserk. I don't want to use the word, running around the streets or crazy. There's this stigma that is attached to therapy and counseling. But we have to understand that it helps. When you try to voice out your mind, it will definitely help to calm or douse the situation. Now, many people out there will say, when you sit down with a therapist or psychologist and you just voice out your mind and you say the reason why, or the psychology will ask you questions that you have forgotten in the past, and you'll be surprised why that is a trigger that makes you act the way you do. Now, voicing out and talking about it is very important. Now, therapy can be beneficial for both victims and perpetrators of violence. Counseling can help address underlying issues and provide coping strategies. Now, for individuals out there who have watched their parents be very abusive towards their mothers or watch their mothers being very abusive towards their fathers, believe me, that is actually a pattern. The child or children would develop that act thinking it is normal to actually follow that trend by being abusive to either of their spouse. So it's very important you go for counseling if you actually observe this sort of behavior in your life. Now, education and awareness. Now, educate yourself and others about dynamics of violence, its impact and how to prevent it. Awareness can help break the cycle of violence. Now, we must start in the home front. Someone once said, Jumai, education starts from the home, which is very true. Why mothers and fathers must educate their children and themselves, why it is wrong to lay your hands on your wife versus or the woman laying her hands on her husband. You must sit down and educate and say that it is not right. There are better ways to actually solve issues amicably. You can sit down at a round table and talk about it. It mustn't lead to what we see on the screen, which is violence, a man or a woman raising his or her hand. So educating and creating that awareness is very, very important. Now, remember, it is essential to prioritize safety and well-being when dealing with violence in the home. Now, let's quickly go on a quick break, and we're going to come back and how we can actually come together to reduce violence in homes. Inside Today continues shortly. Stay tuned.
Is the desk on Global Television?
Nigeria. Come join Anthony Momadou on television's most compelling and facts-finding talk live show.
We are the Palestinians,
because that this country gets it right.
It's the Dex on Global Television, where we analyze and dissect storming issues and commentaries in the world's biggest black nation, Nigeria.
Who is being held accountable for this money?
The eyes have it.
We stay and decide policies and reforms on the Dex. Tune in Mondays to Fridays, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Global Television. Let's stay on the Dex. for an insightful idea that takes the center stage and the conversation that gets beyond the headlines, to explore the lasting impact of political decisions. Big Talk got you covered. From policy debates to geopolitical insights, from thought-provoking discussions to actionable insight.
What is the real responsibility of government?
Big Talk delves deep into the heart of the matter. Join us weekdays on global televisions from 6:30 p.m. for a reverting journey into the heart of politics, where we dissect issues shaping our society.
With every government and introduction of new policies, businesses of all kinds and sizes seize the opportunity to evolve and redefine themselves. Business Point on global television is where we follow the money and put the facts and figures right in front of you. Watch Business Point every Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. as Kikelamo Okeri tracks all the latest developments across critical sectors. Business Point. This is business.
In an ever-busy world, the increasing challenge of keeping track of health matters can be extremely demanding. Follow the latest health tips and trends on Health Guide on Global Television on Tuesday at 3 p.m. Health Guide on Global Television. Put your health first.
Are you a food lover? Do you care about your health and nutrition? Are you interested in exploring the diverse culinary traditions from around the world? Then look no further. Introducing Lunch Global on Global Television, the show that takes you on a delicious journey through the world of food, nutrition, and diet. So, whether you're a seasoned foodie, a health enthusiast, or simply curious about the world of food, Lunch Global has something for everyone. Tune in Mondays to Fridays and let your taste bud take you on a journey of flavor, culture, and discovery on Lunch Global. Bon appetit!
You are welcome back to the program Insight today. Now, I've spoken and I've said a lot about when it comes to violence, how you can, seek help when it comes to support system, ensuring safety, which is legal assistance, when it comes to therapy and counseling, when it comes to education and awareness. Now, like I said, it is essential to prioritize safety as well as one's well-being when dealing with violence in the home. Now, aside all of that, how can you come together to reduce violence in the home for one to become better? When you go through all of these listed above, like I said, now, most times we're too busy. We're always complaining about the economic hardship. We're always not there trying to make ends meet, trying to put food on the table. But have you ever practicing bonding? Yes, most parents out there, there's something called transfer of aggression. Someone might have offended you where you're coming from, and then you come home and you pour that anger on your spouse, either the male or the female. Why don't you try as much as possible when you're home, you put all that aside and you bond? Bonding with family, bonding with your spouse is very important. Bonding in the sense that you can come together, watch a movie, play games, eat together. Most families hardly eat together. Everyone eats on their own. How can you come together and how can violence reduce? Now, communication is very important. We forget to communicate. Because you are in a relationship or you're married and you have that issue of violence around, communication is key. Is when you sit down and you talk about this issue as partners, as spouse, and then I think you can move forward from that. Forgiveness is very important. Learn to forgive. Not when it happens concurrently or when it happens almost on a daily, But once it happens once or twice, learn to put it behind you. Go back, communicate, bond, seek help, go for therapy and counseling, and let's see how much that takes. Now, understanding the pain inflicted when it comes to abuse. Violence leads to abuse, it leads to pain, it leads to physical, emotional, psychological, mental health is one of the main points when it comes to all of this. We must try as much as possible to come together and must try as much as possible to reduce violence either on the male or on the female. Funny enough, in the office today I spoke and I said, who is more violent between the male and the female? All the males said the women. Some of the women said, including myself, the male. But looking at it critically, you know there is a balance. You cannot tell who is more violent between the male and the female because both fall in that same category. For as much as a man lays his hands on his wife, a wife out there lays her hands on her husband. So it's vice versa. But the most important thing is finding a solution in all of this and reducing violence when it comes to home. Thinking about the most important of this all, the children, the effect it has on the children. When they grow up also, this same pattern that occurs. Well, that's it on Insight today. Hope you've learned one or two when it comes to violence, either on the male or the female. Thank you so much for being a part of the program. Join me same time tomorrow. I am Jumai Manson. Bye-bye.